Good evening, I'm Mark Thomas. Thank you for joining us. As we honor veterans, there are more than 18 million vets in the U.S. Each year, vets are honored with Veterans Day. The day commemorates veterans of all wars, whether they made the ultimate sacrifice or still keeping memories alive. Veterans Day is well known in the U.S., but there are still some common misconceptions about the holiday. Tonight, our Tarvarius Haywood breaks down the 5 facts you need to know.
Enough confusion about Veterans Day that the U.S. Department of Defense is highlighting 5 important facts about the holiday. The first thing to remember, there is no apostrophe in Veterans Day. The day honors all veterans, so no apostrophe is needed. Number 2, Veterans Day and Memorial Day are 2 different, distinct holidays celebrated in different ways. Memorial Day honors those who gave their lives for our country. Veterans Day honors everyone, dead or alive, who served and is largely extended to thank living vets for their sacrifice. Our third and fourth facts get into the history of the holiday. Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day to commemorate
Good evening, and thank you for joining us as we honor veterans. I'm Mark Thomas. There are more than 18 million veterans in the United States, and each year vets are honored with Veterans Day. The day commemorates veterans of all wars, whether they made the ultimate sacrifice or are keeping memories alive today. Veterans Day is well known in the U.S., but there are some common misconceptions about the holiday. Tonight, our Tarvarius Haywood breaks down the 5 facts you need to know.
There's enough confusion about Veterans Day that the U.S. Department of Defense is highlighting 5 important facts about the holiday. The first thing to remember, there is no apostrophe in Veterans Day. The day honors all veterans, so no apostrophe is needed. Number 2, Veterans Day and Memorial Day are 2 different, distinct holidays celebrated in different ways. Memorial Day honors those who gave their lives for our country. Veterans Day honors everyone, dead or alive, who served and is largely extended to thank living vets for their sacrifice. Our third and fourth facts get into the history of the holiday. Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day to commemorate the end of World War I. After World War II and the Korean War, Congress changed Armistice Day to Veterans Day, which is now celebrated on November 11th. And rounding out the top 5, Veterans Day is celebrated worldwide in different ways. For instance, Canada, Australia, and Great Britain have Remembrance Day in November, honoring vets in similar fashion.
This year, Veterans Day falls on Thursday, November 11th. There are celebrations happening across the country and here in the Basin. You can check out yourbasin.com for more information. Veterans across the country may not be aware that they've been formally recognized. One Army vet Googled his name and made a life-changing discovery. Our Jeremy Hubbard has that story.
Army veteran Mark DeVille decided to Google himself at the urging of a coworker a few years back. He found a huge surprise.
And it came up a recipient of the Silver Star, and I said, well, that's not me. And he said, no, go ahead and read it. And so I read it, and I'm like, wow, that is me.
Turns out he had earned one of the highest honors for valor in combat and never even knew it.
That's why I do it. That's exactly why I do it.
Might never have known it if not for this man.
It feels very good.
Who's made it his life's work to make sure heroes get the recognition they deserve. Doug Sterner spends as much as 16 hours a day here at the computer in his Pueblo, Colorado home, compiling a massive database on a website called Home of Heroes. He's documented some 275,000 recipients of the nation's highest military honors.
We need those heroes to inspire us. Silver Stars.
For more than 2 decades, he's combed through thousands of files, folders, and documents, tracking down what he calls forgotten valor.
And I thought, well, it would be an impossible task. I said, it can't be done. But I'm an old Army combat engineer. Ask us to do something impossible, we will try.
It's personal for Sterner.
I wanted to recall the heroism of one of my friends. He was killed in action 2 months after I came home from Vietnam and was awarded a Silver Star. He was my closest friend. And I determined that he would never be forgotten.
But Sterner didn't want any military heroes forgotten. He knew millions of military records had been damaged or destroyed over the years, but he's rifled through the National Archives and other sources, has located duplicate records, and has carried out a Herculean task many assumed the military was already doing.
See, the military, when they present an award, they give a citation to the individual.
But in some cases, the Pentagon can't track down the recipients of those citations, and in some rare cases, the recipients don't want the award and don't want anyone to know.
When you get a medal for heroism, it's not something you want to talk about. That medal that you got represents the worst day of your life, and that's why they're lost to history.
No idea. No idea.
Lost to history is just how it seemed Mark DeVille's story would end.
It was describing our firefight in 1984.
Turns out he was involved in a 45-minute shootout at the DMZ 37 years ago as a Russian man attempted to defect across the border.
He crossed the line and he was chased by North Koreans.
DeVille and his unit saved that defector's life, an act of bravery that earned him the 3rd highest award for valor.
It is pretty cool.
Which he only discovered when that Google search led him to Doug Sterner's website.
And he said they'd been looking for me for a long time.
Believe it or not, his squad had been awarded the Silver Star 21 years ago, but none of them could track Mark down. But Doug's hard work connected all the dots.
And I told him I really didn't care. They could mail it to me, but my wife wants it presented.
And that's what happened. In a ceremony at the Pentagon, Mark finally got that Silver Star. Forgotten valor? Forgotten no more, thanks to this veteran who promises to remember. For Veterans Voices, I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
Sterner estimates there are still 150,000 names that need to be added to his database. If you'd like to search for your name or the name of a loved one, just head to homeofheroes.com. Well, each year, veterans from across the country board honor flights to our nation's capital. Jesse Turnor tells us now the nonprofit is making sure vets see the memorials dedicated to them.
God bless the United States.
A hero's welcome. Thank you, sir. For 122 veterans at the memorials dedicated to honoring their service and sacrifice.
Okay, big smile.
Strangers at the National Mall asked for photos and shook their hands.
Hey, brothers?
While some families celebrated generations of military service in D.C. together. This honor flight from Columbus, Ohio gave those who served during the World War II, Korea, and Vietnam eras an all-expenses-paid trip to reunite with those who survived and remember those who didn't.
Real joy to be out here today.
Bill Lawson served in the Navy during the Vietnam War, a time when he said many returned home to a much different reception.
Being cursed and spat on, and I think this is just a wonderful way to show we appreciate every military person.
The Honor Flight Network began in 2005 with a mission of honoring World War II veterans here in the nation's capital. It has since expanded to those who served in Korea, Vietnam, and intermediary operations. The nonprofit also makes exceptions for more recent service eras in special cases like terminal illnesses. About 250,000 veterans have been able to make the 2-day trip to Washington for free. Each honor flight takes an army of donors and volunteers to get off the ground. It often begins with a celebratory send-off at their local airport, including a presentation of the colors and volunteers cheering and waving flags. While in D.C., veterans visit the World War II, Korean, and Vietnam memorials, along with other stops on the National Mall. They also travel to Arlington National Cemetery, where they get to witness the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and participate in a wreath-laying ceremony. The pandemic grounded all honor flights for 18 months. Precious time for some veterans who were hoping to take the trip, but passed away before they could. There's not that many left from World War II that you can ask a lot of questions about. Bill Jackson was the only World War II veteran on this honor flight. He served in the Navy, where he manned a gun turret.
Kamikazes in the Philippines put 20 holes in our ship.
So you had a lot of close calls.
Yeah.
At 96 years old, Jackson still has vivid memories of the war, but was first reluctant to make the trip back to the memorial that honors it. Are you glad you did?
Oh, yeah. They've been so nice to me. I can't believe it.
It really is kind of a hero's welcome to D.C.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a hero?
No, I don't. I'm a hero. Hero is someone else that does something great.
But as part of the greatest generation, many would give Jackson that title.
I'm glad to serve. I felt like my duty, just like everyone did.
Now, on this Veterans Day, Jackson considers the younger generations choosing to serve to be the nation's heroes.
Well, I say congratulations. I think you're doing good service.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Jesse Chenor.
This Veterans Day, Arlington National Cemetery wants to honor our nation's veterans in a historic way. For the first time in decades, the normally protected area surrounding the tomb of the unknown soldier will be open for the public. It's all part of the tomb's centennial commemoration. Our Kelly Meyer has the details on how you can get involved in the day.
It's sacred ground. Protected 24/7 by the Old Guard. But this Veterans Day, for the first time in nearly a century, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier Plaza will be open for the public to pay their respects.
We're going to allow the public to walk across the plaza, and as a part of that, stop and place a flower to honor and remember the unknowns.
Dr. Gerald Lowe has spent the last 3 years planning for the centennial commemoration, marking 100 years since the first unknown soldier was laid to rest. Since then, only the sentinels of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, or the Old Guard, have been allowed to walk next to the tomb.
Those photos show the American public gathered about the tomb. So we're not going to allow the public to gather about the tomb, but in a sense or in a way to bridge the past to the present, we want to enable the public to approach the tomb and be closer to the tomb.
Since 1921, 2 more unknowns were added, and the site has grown into a memorial visited by people from around the world. Now, on November 9th and 10th, visitors can see the grave of the 3 unknown service members up close.
That closeness creates connectedness, and we want the public to be connected with this place, connected with the story.
The event will happen rain or shine, and the staff at Arlington National Cemetery is preparing for a large turnout. Lowe says anyone is welcome to attend, and that this isn't just for military families.
It really is a part of America's story and American history, and we want everyone to participate and take a part in it.
Reporting.
Arlington National Cemetery is encouraging people to register online, but the event itself is free. World War II. It was one of the deadliest wars in history. Tonight, here's some inspirational stories of survival. Many veterans are looking for ways to continue to serve their country after they come home. Giving back to those who gave so much, how one Basin vet is being honored. Welcome back. Tonight, we're taking a deeper look at the sacrifices of veterans during World War II. The war officially began on September 1st, 1939. Germany invaded Poland, inciting allies Britain and France to declare war on Germany. The war raged on without American influence for almost 2 years. Then, on December 7th, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. The Hawaii Naval Base was left in ruins after Japanese fighter planes destroyed nearly 20 ships, and then 300 more planes. More than 2,400 Americans died in the attack. One survivor of the attacks is an Army veteran who just turned 100 years old. Now he's answering the call to action. Our Jeremy Hubbard has his story.
Dear Mr. Blake, thank you so much for taking the time today to read my letter.
Fan mail is not the sort of thing most 100-year-olds are used to getting.
There are not enough words to express my deep appreciation for you and all others who have served our nation.
But over the years, notes from total strangers have appeared in George Blake's mailbox.
Thank you so much. It truly means a lot to me.
With gratitude for his role in history 80 years ago. He was stationed at Pearl Harbor, December 7th.
I was only there a few minutes.
1941.
And there was this tremendous sound.
The day America was thrust into World War II.
We came out of the building and the sky was full of planes.
More than 2,400 Americans died in that attack.
I suddenly realized they were all kids.
And you could say a little part of George
19, 20,
died that day too.
Why you and not me?
A few years ago, he wrote a poem that he still can't get through without tears.
I gaze at the list of the young who died, and with pent emotions, I have cried. The tears I shed upon my cheek pose a question whose answer I seek. Why you and not me?
George is the last Pearl Harbor survivor in his small Colorado county, one of the last in the entire country, which probably explains that fan mail.
Very much so.
And the neighbors.
It is very special.
Who consider him
George is very unique. He's a special dude.
a local celebrity.
We had a second one in town, but he died probably 10 or 12 years ago.
Not to mention an outright hero.
You know, he does make a difference.
It's a reputation solidified even further a few months ago when this old veteran set out on a journey to serve once again. Seems a friend who works with a local charity told George there was a veteran in Britain who went on 100 walks to support healthcare workers. George's friend had an idea.
He said, would you get 100 walks in by your birthday? Can you do that? I said, I think so. So I did it.
Did he ever? For more than 3 months leading up to his 100th birthday, in the thin mountain air, 7,000 feet above sea level, there he was every day.
People come by and say, what walk is this? I say, oh, 31st or the 65th. Till my 100th birthday.
And on his birthday, he's the one who gave the present to his hometown. More than $10,000 raised through his walks to help a local nonprofit serving families during the pandemic.
I didn't mind doing it. I was walking anyway, and I was able. And that's the important thing of being a veteran anyway.
Ask anyone around here.
Is to do what you can to make a difference in your community.
They'll tell you.
He's one of the very few World War II veterans still left.
From Pearl Harbor to his front patio, service is who George Blake is.
Thank you again for your time today.
It's no wonder they're all such big fans.
That would be a tremendous surprise and gift.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
Today, at the site of the deadly Pearl Harbor attacks, a memorial stands tall. The memorial is commemorating 80 years this December. The National Memorial's goal is to tell the whole story from engagement to peace. World War II officially came to an end in 1945, and now the National World War II Museum in New Orleans is giving people and vets an up-close look at the conflict. Our Shannon Hecht takes us there.
For Tom Chikansky, the museum is personal. His dad, Alphonse, served in the Second World War, and now his uniform hangs on display.
He had a Thompson submachine gun, and he used to fire it from the hip
He says they didn't realize until years later the significance of what his father had been through in Normandy and Pearl Harbor.
He was sitting in the mess hall. He'd gotten up early. He was a corporal, and there was a table for non-commissioned officers, and they were drinking their coffee when Japanese planes flew over and strafed the barracks. And I remember him saying there were several men in his company who were killed while they were still asleep.
Tom's aunts and uncles also served in the war, which inspired him to enlist in the reserves and was on active duty in the 80s. The museum highlights an American experience during World War II, from the battles soldiers fought to how families handled changes back home.
I think the largest story that runs throughout is that the people in World War II were average individuals like you and I are today. And we tell the story not as much as the generals and the grand strategies, but of the individual.
Tom says the goal of the museum is to show the facts of history and allow younger folks to reflect on the tragedy of war and how the country rallied together in challenging times.
It's critical for Americans to remember that at one point in our history, we did all come together, we set politics aside, and we all came together for the greater good of the country and the world.
As the state recovers from the pandemic, more school tours are coming through the doors. The museum also provides online resources for teachers to better help them teach about the war.
This war is a new kind of war.
What started as a small collection to recognize New Orleans native Andrew Jackson Higgins for his efforts in the war creating the Higgins boats is now a federally recognized institution.
When we first opened, we used to see a lot more veterans. And the veterans would often come with their families and their children and grandchildren and tour the museum, and they would learn about what their grandparents did during the war. And as time has gone on, there are less and less veterans who are able to travel.
The museum has been growing for decades. Now a new exhibit based around the Holocaust and liberation of concentration camps is under construction. Every day for 20 years, Tom has walked through the doors of the museum and passed by his father's uniform. To him, keeping the mission of the museum alive is an honor to celebrate those he has met along the way.
The hardest part of this job is that those people are all passing away, but it's an honor for me to be able to work here and to make sure their story is told.
Well, that museum has a long list of online resources for students and visitors to get better acquainted with that time period. One veteran is using art to continue serving his country, and we have his story. Notes of love for one of the basin's own. Coming up, hear how one vet's life has been changed forever. There are about 19 million veterans in the U.S., and many of them are looking for ways to continue serving their country long after their time in the military. One Colorado man has found a way with some spray paint and some wood. Jeremy Hubbard has his story.
You'd never know it from the wood shop and the sawdust.
I've been doing this for about 4 years now, 5 years.
But Zach Smith was supposed to be a firefighter, like his dad and his dad's dad. But it seems a saw and a passion got in the way.
And then God had other plans.
Smith is an Army veteran who discovered a new skill by accident.
Everything is trial and error.
And along the way discovered how to continue serving his community and his country through art. His studio is his garage, where he's designed thousands of these unique and patriotic paintings.
So far today, there's roughly 8,000 pieces out there.
The gift of this colorful art might be most cherished by families who are in their darkest hour.
It's humbling to me that I have a way that I can personally give back.
When a local sheriff's deputy was killed in the line of duty 3 years ago, Zach made a flag and sent it to his loved ones. After that, he decided to do it again, each and every time a military member or first responder here in his home state dies in the line of duty. And sadly, the work has kept him busy.
Just a couple years ago, I remember building 3 in a month.
So far, he's honored more than 20 families of the fallen with a keepsake that honors their hero in a way nothing else can.
These people are all public servants, you know, and this is an important part of being an American, is serving your country.
Sure, maybe his Army days are over.
I never wanted to be a woodworker. I never wanted to be a painter.
But Zach Smith has blazed a new trail with a new passion.
It just worked out that way.
To serve those families who serve us all.
You know, you just have to follow your heart and do what makes you happy.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
Zach's service doesn't end with his artwork. He recently organized a group of more than 100 volunteers to help a Vietnam-era veteran clean up his property. Coming up, hear from one Basin veteran who is ready to settle in. The touching show of support next. It's called Operation Love Notes. One veteran is getting ready to settle into his new house, mortgage-free. And there's a lot more to it than just a home.
Pretty amazing and shocking for my girls and I. And they're so excited about this. This is really a big, tremendous thing.
So I truly appreciate your service and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. God bless y'all.
Operation Finally Home is a national nonprofit started right here in Texas back in 2005 with a mission to provide custom-built mortgage-free homes, home modifications for America's wounded, ill, and injured veterans, as well as first responders.
After the first tour and then the second tour and getting hurt and then getting back up and then doing another tour.
But when you think about the sacrifice that our military veterans have made for this country, to wear the uniform, to fight for our freedom and values that we often take for granted, it's great to be able to give back to them.
To be able to go through the house, you see the messages, and what was that like?
Oh, it was great. It was so cool to see that, and you know, their classmates and everything. So it was pretty cool. I know it's gonna be great for me and my kids.
You can read more about the initiative on earbasin.com. We'll be right back. There are several ways you at home can honor our country's veterans. Fly an American flag, thank a veteran for their service, or make a donation to a veterans organization. Thank you for joining us tonight as we honor our nation's veterans. I'm Mark Thomas. Have a great night.